Now I got to ask you, Jalil. You know, with a lot of your colleagues in the sport of boxing right now, with a lot of the younger fighters, you know, I always talk about the Floyd factor of 50-0.
Yeah.
Does it make it difficult to get the matchups that you would like to see in the sport of boxing because of they don't want to take that one loss? You know, your father just spoke about the golden era of boxing in the middleweight division where they fought each other, even though they took a loss, they came back and fought again.
Yeah.
You find a situation now, if you beat someone, they don't want to fight you again. What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like at the end of the day, in order to sell tickets, this is prize fighting. We're not talking about amateur boxing. This is prize fighting. The objective of the pros is you trying to win a prize. The prize is money, belts, fame. And I feel by fighting like just C-class and B-class opponents, you're not really fighting for a prize. You're just fighting. Like when you got to do like Floyd, even though Floyd ended up being 50-0, he got to a point where he was strictly prize fighting. He fought all world champions, and he just happened to beat every world champion he stepped in the ring with. But when you get in there, you got dudes like Marvin Hagler, who took a few losses. Dudes like Ray Leonard, who took a few losses. But at the end of the day, they still Hall of Fame fighters. That's a part of their Hall of Fame career. He lost to this guy, but he came back and beat him. He lost to that guy, but then he went on a 5-win streak against all world champions. So yeah, that's why we have so many different Hall of Famers from that era, because they all fought each other, and that's what makes them great.
What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Hackett? Because like you say, like we said, you know, we look at the matches now. Like we definitely would love to see a Sean Porter Crawford matchup, but you probably not sure if you're going to see it or not.
Man, right now the welterweight division is the hot pot. If you a welterweight, if you a top 6 welterweight, and you had that golden renaissance time and they fight each other, you're a Hall of Famer. If you fight 5 of those guys and you beat 2 or 3, and you lose to 2, rematch 1, whatever it is, you had a Hall of Fame career. In order, to me, it's when we look at boxing, everybody's top 5 may be different, but I can guarantee you that Floyd is probably the only one in everybody's top 5 who's undefeated. When I talk about historical fighters, Marvin Hagler, from my time of watching boxing live or in person, he's my favorite fighter.
Mine too.
Marvin Hagler was an animal. That man, it seemed like he was a Viking. You could see him playing a Viking in the movie, and he fit right in because everything was seek and destroy. My favorite fighter from a historical standpoint is Henry Armstrong. Henry Armstrong, I think he held 3 world titles in 3 different weight classes at the same time and defended all of them. Those guys fought. When you look at the sport, it shows that this is the last thing a gladiator can truly do. We don't have anything gladiatorial outside of boxing and MMA. That brings that one man versus another man with the process of imposing your will and doing it the best way you can. Everybody's not a technical boxer. Some guys are brawlers. Some guys are brawlers, but then other guys are thinkers. It's so many different realms to it where you're bringing your discipline versus his discipline and see which discipline can actually hold out the most. And like I said, at the end of the day, if my son can come out of boxing with some financial prosperity and can look back on his career and say, I had a great career and possibly be a Hall of Famer, I'm cool with that. It doesn't have to, to me, it doesn't have to end undefeated. Just giving our best. That's it. Taking a challenge, approaching it as that challenge, preparing like professionals for that challenge, seeing it, and then living with the outcome.
You know, one of the things, I look at the YouTube comments on your different videos, and people really enjoy you speaking on the sport of boxing. How did your beginnings get started with boxing?
I used to fight as an amateur. I was training with Gary Russell Sr. I think he's one of the best trainers in the sport of boxing. When you look at what he has done, I don't think he gets his full complement on his abilities. He has had Gary Jones lost in the Olympic trials, the finals to Fernando Vargas. He had a good career as a pro. You have Lil Gary, an Olympian, current world champion. Antoine Russell, an Olympian, current undefeated pro. Antonio Russell, undefeated pro. You had Allen, who a lot of people don't know. Allen might have been the best as an amateur out of all of them. Allen might have been the best amateur. Then you had Davon, Gary's other son that was like a little brother to me. He was killed, lost his life at a young age, but he was super talented. Gary worked with Clarence Vincent, who was also an Olympian. So he had a good trail of guys that he worked with, and he got them to great points. But if you look at them, they were able to be themselves. You box, you be you. When I started training with them, I'm the only orthodox fighter. Everybody else southpaw. And a lot of people told me he can't get you right because he used to southpaws. I won a lot of fights. I got opportunities through Candy Jacobs, who was with the PVA at the time, was able to send me away to fight with different teams that went to different places. And when I decided to go away to college, I got an injury. I had a nerve surgery on my elbow, so that ended everything with sports-wise. And then when my son decided to get into the sport, it was like, hey, this is what we're going to do. We trained with Gary and them a lot when he was little, a lot. I was able to help Gary. I was able to watch what they're doing. And it made the process very good. And when he got to the point where he started sparring, he learned so much from training in the same environment with a bunch of southpaws that is funny. He has zero trouble with southpaws. So that's the weird part. And like I said, DC has been a great bed for boxing. As a youth, I was able to spar with Lamont Peterson, have a great relationship with Anthony Peterson. Both of them are great fighters. Had opportunities to work with fighters like William Joppy, former world champion. Have a great relationship with Keith Holmes. Andrew Council is not just my friend, but he's also going to be working with my son as a pro. He'll be coaching with me. So yeah, the boxing has always been there, and I wanted him to either like it or dislike it for himself. I never pushed any of my boys to boxing. I wanted him to be a football player, but when he got the bug, he was like, I want to be a fighter. So, I wanted to make sure everything was the best way possible for him.